Okay, so thank you to everyone who's attending today. My name is Marc Drumm. I'm an instructional designer here at Westchester University in the Office of Distance Education. And the title of this webinar is Online Courses, What Could Possibly Go Wrong? So we're going to kind of take a look at some of the common problems that faculty here have had with delivering their online courses. And then we're also going to take a look at some of the kind of strategies to employ in some hypothetical situations. And then at the end, we're going to kind of take a look at some of the advice that I've heard from various faculty that have helped them deal with certain situations. So let's move on. Before we get into this, I just want to kind of plug some of our other upcoming webinars, and you can see the list here. I'm not going to read through them, but I will say that I am going to be facilitating the webinar on YouTube on October 9th. And I don't think, I don't need to explain what YouTube is to anybody. I think we all know what it is. But there are definitely some advantages to using YouTube, especially if you're faculty here at Westchester, as opposed to what is now called My Media, formerly known as Kaltura, and some sort of hidden features that you may not be aware of. So we're going to take a look at some of those and kind of dive deeper into what you can or can't do in YouTube. I should also say, at any time, please feel free to ask questions, put them in the chat section. If I don't catch it right away, feel free to use the raise your hand feature in the room to catch my attention. That's just trying to do a zillion things at once and move along. So I want to answer your questions, so be sure to throw them out there. And at the end, I'm probably will just open it up to anybody who wants to ask questions. I'll turn on microphones and, we can have a little chat if you'd like to do that. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So things go wrong. It's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. And sometimes there are, what's that? Are the webinar topics covered in the faculty orientation, or are they additional topics? I think they may be kind of covered in sort of a general sense. They won't be, I don't think we'll go in as deep within the faculty orientation. But I think, each one of these topics will probably be touched on a little bit here and there. We have to be kind of cognizant of, we don't want to throw a whole lot at you at once. So we'll make these available to you, and then you can kind of pick and choose what you want to go into a little bit further. Yeah, no problem. No, don't worry about interrupting or whatnot. But so anyways, things go wrong. That's just the way things are. And sometimes they're our fault. So in this particular slide, as you can see, this woman was trying to take a picture at the 2014 Sochi Olympics, and she kind of struggled a little bit. Maybe she had just bought a digital camera for the first time or whatnot. But, we're human beings. We make mistakes, and that's just the way things are. Unfortunately for her, it was caught on a picture, and as you can see, was retweeted 36,000 times on Twitter. So, but at any rate, sometimes it's not our fault. We can go through and set everything up the way it's supposed to be done, and it still doesn't quite work out. I think one of the most classic examples of technology not working out, and this is one that's always talked about and bandied about among people in IT and the technology world. This happened back at 1998 at a big show called Comdex, and Bill Gates was demonstrating Windows 98 for the very first time. And in this particular case, he was demonstrating how the plug and play feature works. So you have an external device like a scanner, you plug it in, Windows recognizes it right away, and you're off and running. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little clip of what happened in that case. And just give me a second to switch over. Now I'm going to move my microphone so you can hear what's going on, hopefully.
Plug it in. It's going to say, hey, I see you plugged in a new device, and it's going to load in the appropriate drivers. You'll notice that this scanner build, whoa. Moving right along.
That must be why we're not shipping Windows 98.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So poor Bill, in front of all these technology executives, had his demonstration of Windows 98 crash. And what he didn't know is that a minute before that happened, CNN had actually started broadcasting him doing that demo live. So not only did everybody at the conference see that, but everyone around the world saw that. So even the best of us, we have our moments. So what can we do? Well, I'm going to kind of get into some of the most common problems that we see in terms of supporting faculty here at Westchester. So one of the more common things is we see broken links, right? So we, X number of months before or weeks before, we're putting our course together online, and we're linking to pages and articles out on the web and all sorts of other things. And a month or 2 months go by, and the course starts, and that link to that web page or that other article or whatever it is not working. Click on it and you get nothing. You get that famous 404 error that we're all sort of accustomed to seeing. So what do you do in a case like this? Well, there's a few things that you can do. I mean, number one, you can still go to whatever website you would link to, and usually there's some sort of search engine, and maybe they just redesigned their site or they shuffled pages around and it's still there and we can find it and just fix that link and go on. If it's a news article, the odds are there's a good chance other news organizations have picked it up and posted it on their sites as well, so a quick Google search could go and find that article or whatnot. But what happens if all of these other things have failed and we cannot find that page that we wanted to show our students? The answer may be a website called, and I will switch over to my web browser here so you can see it. And we can close Bill Gates there. There's a website called archive.org. And what this is they're a nonprofit organization who basically kind of has set their computers and whatnot to kind of scour the web and take snapshots of pages as they exist and save them on our website, save them on their website so that they can go at a later time and plug in a URL and we can see that page that as it had been saved at a particular point. So, this is something that happened to me a couple of years ago when we were doing the faculty development course that we do. So we had this page on creating accessible content, and one of the things we had, as I scroll down on the page here, is we had a link to this course accessibility checklist from Central Washington University. At the time we thought, hey, this is a great checklist, and we'll show it to our faculty, and they can look and they can see the various steps that this particular school recommends to make your course accessible. Well, of course, time went on, went to use the link again. I click on it, and what I get is I'm taken to the university's disabilities services page, but this is not the document that I was looking for. And I thought, okay, well, maybe they shuffled it around, they redid their site or whatnot. Searched through their site, couldn't find it anywhere. It's not there. Went to Google, searched for that document, not anywhere. So what I did then was I went back. I still know what the link is, right? I still have the link in my course. And I can just kind of do a right click on the link and I can say copy the link location. So this is what the URL for that document would be. I go to the Internet Archive site and I paste it in and I hit return. And what I get is this sort of timeline, and it says, hey, that URL was saved one time back on May 29th of 2010. And if I go down the page a little bit here, I get this calendar and I look at May 29th, and if I move my mouse over it, it says one snapshot was taken at 3:08 in the afternoon. And what I can do is then click on that time and it gives me the snapshot that it took. So there's that document, there's that page that I was missing and couldn't find anywhere else. So, you know, now there are some caveats to this. It doesn't go out and it doesn't get every single page on the internet. I mean, that's just not possible. And it's possible for website owners to block them if they really want to do that. But this organization has been around for a long time and it's gone out pretty wide and has gotten and saved a really large amount of content. So if you're kind of down to your last straw and you're really looking for that page that doesn't exist anymore, there's a good chance that it might be here. Now, while I'm talking about this site, let me go back. And this is getting a little bit off topic, but this is really a great site for sort of historical content. I mean, you can really throw any URL in here. You know, let's do something a little bit more popular like CNN's website. Right. And you can see here now, they've gone and they've taken 38,000 snapshots of their site going all the way back to the year 2000. So, I mean, you could bring up a page, you know, let's kind of, and you can see it takes multiple snapshots on a daily basis. So I can go back, I'm in the year 2000 here on June 20th, and I can actually see, you know, what CNN's website looked like back on that date. And, you know, we've come a long way, obviously. You take a look at the headlines. Clintons say Democrats hold keys to bright future. And it talks about President Clinton making the case for the election of Al Gore. Well, as we all know, that didn't quite work out for Al. But so as you can see, I mean, really a great place for sort of historical content. Not only that, but let me go back here. They have a ton of resources that have fallen into in the public domain, books and audio and video and whatnot. So great place to get content for your courses. Like I said, going off topic a little bit here, but at any rate, let's go back to the presentation. Okay. So next thing that we see happen quite a bit is the invisible D2L item. Okay, so I created a quiz, I created a discussion board. I know it's there. I can go in and I can see it, but I'm getting emails from my students saying, I can't see this. I can't access this thing. What is going on? And the answer most likely is, let's take a look at, this is our the summer faculty development program that I ran over the summer. There are various settings in quizzes and discussion boards and content pages and whatnot where you can set the time and the date where you want something to appear, or you can just plain hide something. And the odds are that it's those settings have been enabled somehow, and it's blocking the student from seeing it. So as you can see, I've got 5 quizzes. Whoops, you can't see that. Let me switch over. Let's switch back over to the browser here. Okay. So as you can see here in the development program, I've got 5 quizzes here, but one of them, this one, chapter 5 through 9, is marked inactive. Now I can see it as faculty because I'm the one who created it. I marked it inactive. It's staying there. But if I'm a student, I can't see that quiz. And if there's a link to it somewhere in my content module, and I click on it as a student, I'm not going to be able to see that. Now, here's kind of the quick and easy way to check to see if that's the case that's happening. You go back to your course home, and then up where your name is, you can click on it and you can say view as student. So now I'm viewing this course as if I were a student within it. And if I go back to the quizzes section, that chapter 5 through 9 quiz is gone. I can only see these 4 particular quizzes there. So that tells me that the students can't see it and that I've done something to set it so that it can't be viewed. Now in discussion boards, it happens a lot in discussion boards as well. And you have to remember that there are separate settings for both the forum and the topic. So here I have this water cooler forum, and within there, I have the ability to hide it or make it visible only for a certain time and date. But then one of the topics within that forum, I can do the same thing as well. So there's multiple places to check and see, if I've hidden something or set a specific date range to have it shown. This is particularly problematic for courses that have been copied from a previous semester, because what happens is it will also copy the visibility or the date range settings from that previous semester. So you may think, oh, I've copied everything over and it's there and it's ready to go, but the visibility settings from 6 months ago or from a year ago that you've been set are still there. So, it's only still visible from, say, September to October of 2014. That's something we run into quite a bit. So be aware of that when you're copying courses over. Okay, let's go back. So here's another one. When faculty go to teach online for the first time, a lot of them think, okay, I'm going to take my PowerPoint presentation that I use in class, and I'm just going to embed some audio right into it, and I'm going to put it online. And it's not a bad thought, and that's definitely one approach to take. We've all seen those PowerPoint slides that have that little, speaker icon down in the corner, and you click play and you hear it and you go on to the next slide and whatnot. But what we found in practice is that this is very problematic, okay? Because when you take that PowerPoint file and you upload it into D2L, D2L kind of converts it into something that can be viewed in D2L. And it just won't play that audio, period, from the D2L site. Now you can download that PowerPoint file onto your computer and then open it up in PowerPoint. The students have that option. But again, we found that to be very problematic, especially with different versions of PowerPoint, both within the same platform, right? So if I have PowerPoint 2010 for Windows, and that's what I use to make this audio recording, it may not work in PowerPoint 2016 for Windows and across platforms as well. So if I make PowerPoint file with audio in PowerPoint for Mac and then try and play it on Windows, sometimes it doesn't work either. every semester we always get at least a couple of faculty who's saying, this just isn't working. And the answer is it's just too problematic to take this route. So what should I do instead? Well, the answer is, let's kind of take this to the next step. Okay, let's make a web record, a screencast of you narrating your PowerPoint file, and let's kind of add the distance pedagogies that apply to it. So let's make sure we break that up into smaller chunks, and let's make sure we add some reflective questions or some sort of formative assessment to the end of each PowerPoint. And then also, let's have audio of you showing I'm sorry, let's have video of you showing in this movie as well. One of the things you tend to lose a little bit when you go to an online course is that having that presence, right? Face-to-face course, you're standing right in front of the students. They see you, they interact with you at any time that they want. But you lose that a bit in an online course. So this is a way for you to have presence, is to be able to show that video of you. Had a faculty tell me a story a few months ago about how she was shopping in the supermarket, and a gentleman stopped her and said, "Hey, are you Dr. So-and-so?" And she's like, yes. Do I know you? And he's like, well, no, but my wife took one of your online courses, and I remember her watching you every morning at the breakfast table from your videos and whatnot. So, even though I didn't take your course, I still remember you. And he actually said, I kind of feel like I know you from seeing you on all of these videos. And that's true. When we watch people in videos, even when we watch characters on TV or whatnot, we kind of develop this sense like we know this person. So let's kind of transition away from the simplistic, just embed audio into the PowerPoint, and let's really kind of make something that is appropriate for teaching online. So so next thing that we always run into a lot of trouble with is audio and video when we're doing a synchronous session. So a session like this in Adobe Connect, or in Blackboard Collaborate, or in just having a Skype session or a FaceTime session with a student or something like that. We all have those participants who, for whatever reason, have that really grainy audio or that really grainy video, or the audio just isn't working for them. Things aren't panning out. They can't hear what somebody's saying. They're having some sort of trouble, and there are a lot of steps that we can take to sort of address this. Number one, use the network, the internet connection that has the most bandwidth that's available to you, right? So if you're at home and you're finding that your Wi-Fi connection is really slow, or if you're in your office and you're finding that your Wi-Fi connection is really slow, maybe Wi-Fi isn't the best way to go. Maybe you need to get that Ethernet cable out and plug it into your computer. You can do that at home too through your router. I mean, most routers have Ethernet ports in the side, and you can run a cable right to it. That may help out with at least your bandwidth problems, and that's a suggestion you can make to your students as well. The other thing too is, in terms of audio, always use USB headphones. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, Mark, you hypocrite, you're not using USB headphones. Well, I'm sitting in a soundproof booth, so unless you have a soundproof booth at home or in your office or whatnot, yeah, you can do that. But if I was just sitting in my office, I'd definitely be using my USB headphones. And there are a lot of advantages to doing that. I mean, one, it keeps the microphone at a constant distance away from your face, right? So no matter if I'm leaning forward into the microphone or I'm leaning back away from the microphone, it doesn't matter. The audio level is still going to be the same. The other thing too is that it keeps the audio directly in your ears instead of having it come out the speakers of your computer. Because that's what happens when you don't turn your phone off. So what happens is the audio will come out of your computer speakers and then get picked up by your microphone and sent back out. So what happens is you get this echo effect that just drives everybody crazy. So to stop that echo effect, keep the audio in your ears and then not have it broadcast so that your microphone can pick it up and resend it back out. So other thing to think about, disable student audio and video while you're speaking. I mean, you know, your students may sit there and you know, keep quiet or whatnot, but there's always going to be someone who is going to make noise to someone. Maybe their phone goes off, maybe their dog is barking in the background or something like that. You know, keeping everybody muted until there's a good time for them to speak will help with that. And you can do things like say, hey, put something in the chat box to let me know that you want to talk, or raise your hand, or do something, and then I can enable your microphone or your webcam so that you can ask your question or we can have that interaction. Another thing to think about is just about every one of these synchronous applications has some sort of in-application testing, right? So, for example, in Adobe Connect, if you're using the desktop version, if you click on the meeting button up in the upper left-hand corner, one of the options is Audio Setup Wizard, and that will help you walk through the setup of your microphone and allow you to test it and make sure it's working properly. And a lot of these synchronous programs have that feature in it of some sort. Blackboard Collaborate has it, Skype has it. You know, it can really help to test out and make sure that your microphone is working. Provide documentation to your students. You know, give them the help files that'll help them connect to one of these various programs, whichever one you may be using and whatnot. And then really most importantly, sometime early on in the course, have some sort of a test session. You know, just say, hey, I'm going to set up a couple of sessions, you know, throughout the day. Let's just get on and connect. We're not going to talk about any course stuff. Let's just make sure everybody's microphone is working, your webcam is working, you can see what I'm doing and whatnot. Let's work these kinks out early on so that when it comes to actual class time, we can have all that taken care of and we can get work done instead of spending time trying to figure out, hey, what's going on here, and not talking about the content that you want to cover. So okay, here's a hypothetical situation. D2L goes down. So what do you do? Now, I will say here, we've been very fortunate. You know, I've been working here for a couple of years, and it's been pretty rare that D2L has actually gone down. But it does happen. And there was, about 2.5 years ago, a sort of a system-wide outage in the US of D2L, where a good chunk of the country actually lost it for about 3 days. And it was kind of crazy. But you know, so what can you do when your primary, you know, piece of software for delivering your content is no longer available? Well, it takes a little bit of pre-planning and foresight, but there is something that you can do. And I'm going to switch back over to the web browser here so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to go to, again, this is the summer course that I taught for faculty. I'm going to go to the first module in it. And I've got my module page here, and it's got some content and links to other content that I want my participants to see and whatnot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the little drop-down menu that's right next to the title of the page, and one of the choices is download. I'm going to select that, and it's going to say I'm processing the download. And what it's going to do is it's going to take most of everything that's on on this page and put it together in a zip file. All right, so it says I've done that. I've saved the zip file. I'm going to take this zip file. On a Mac, to unzip a file, you just double click it. And what I get is this folder that I can open up. And if I double click the HTML page in this folder, what I get is essentially most of the content that's on this page. Now, one thing you'll notice is a couple of the YouTube movies that I had embedded into this page, they're not showing up. But everything else is. And what I had done is, in addition to embedding the YouTube videos on the page, I also put a link as well. So if I click on that link, it'll actually take me to YouTube to that video that I wanted them to watch. So in terms of content, the students can pretty much get everything. So I can take this zip file, I could email it to them and say, okay, you know, you're not gonna, since D2L is down, you're not gonna be able to take a quiz. You're not gonna be able to post in a discussion board. That's just not possible. That's lost. But you can still at least have the content and read through it and watch through it and make some sort of progress. Okay. You know, and maybe I had some other things attached to this page as well. Maybe I linked to some PDF files and whatnot, you know, and I could include that in my zip file. Or what I could do is if that file's too big to email, I could use a file sharing service like Box or Dropbox or Google Drive. I could throw it all up there, and then I could send a link to my students saying, hey, here's where all those files are on my Google Drive or my Dropbox or whatever that is. So they can at least access it and they can at least continue getting through that content. So, you know, not the most ideal solution. Like I said, you know, they're not going to be able to post to a discussion board or take a quiz or things like that, but they can at least still get that content and make their way through it. There's some progress still can be made. So that's how to approach that. Let's go back to the presentation here. Okay. Next hypothetical situation, your internet access goes down. I mean, you thought D2L going down was bad. Now the whole thing's gone, you know, for you. So what do? Well, you know, it kind of depends on the situation, right? So, you know, I include this little story down in the left corner there about a huge storm, you know, so thinking of something like a massive snowstorm or like a Hurricane Sandy type thing where, you know, most of the people in the region are knocked out of power. Well, that happens, you're out of luck. I'm afraid there's just nothing you can really do about that. And that's sort of, you know, taking into consideration that most of the students live in the same general area as you. And I think, you know, in terms of our online courses, that's generally true. I imagine as time goes on, that'll be a little bit less and less of the case. But the way it stands now, that's what, you know, the way it is. But what happens if the internet goes down just for you? Okay, so something happens, some sort of cable gets cut outside of your house or whatever it is, you have some faulty equipment, your internet connection goes down. What can you do? So there's a couple of things that you can do. And you know, this is the same for students as well, you know, and that is have some, you know, think about what is my backup location going to be? All right. Is there somewhere I can go? Is there a Starbucks around the corner, or is there a friend's house that I can drive to a couple miles away, or a relative's house or something like that, where I can go and get that backup connection so I can get back on and continue working? You know, that's kind of the you know, quick and simple sort of answer. But there's another solution that you can take, which is using the personal hotspot feature on your cell phone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over and show you the screen of my cell phone. All right. So this is the screen of my iPhone. And if I go to the settings app on my iPhone, you notice the fifth thing down is something called personal hotspot. I'm surprised that a lot more people don't know about this, but I tell people about this and they're like, oh, I never even knew what this was, or I never tried it, or I never even heard of it. If I select personal hotspot, it gives me the option to turn it on or off. So I'm going to turn it on here. And then I have to set some sort of a Wi-Fi password. So I set this password earlier today, and I just made it kind of some sort of generic sort of password here. And so it's great password. So what's going to happen is I can now go into the Wi-Fi settings of my computer, and what I'm going to see as a selection is Marc Drumm's iPhone. And I can select that in my Wi-Fi settings, and it's going to ask me for a password, and that's the password, right there, that great password that I had set to get access. And then what I'm now doing is I'm using the data plan from my cell phone to access the internet. Now there's one huge caveat to this, which is it is using the data from your cell phone data plan. Okay. So if you have unlimited data, you've got nothing to worry about. Okay. You go on and use it as much as you like. If you don't have unlimited data, then be very careful. You may want to see how much data you have left. You may not want to use this a whole lot because going online and going through web pages and watching videos and things like that, you're going to start eating up the data from your data plan very quickly. And once you go over, they're going to start charging you a lot for that. So that is one caveat there. But emergency situation, you have your computer, you need to get online. This is a quick and easy way of doing that. So let me close that. And we'll go back. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to kind of talk about are, I'm very fortunate in this job in that we are allowed to go around to various conferences, both locally and nationally and even internationally. And we get to meet with other faculty at other schools and whatnot. And, they all have tips and tricks that they've learned, during their time from teaching online. And there are a few really good tips that I've come across this way, just from talking with faculty about how they've approached problems or potential problems. One tip that I was given was at the beginning of the course, in your first module on the first day, list all of the technology that's going to be used throughout the course. Give the students a head start in making sure that they have all of the software that they need, or they can practice using the particular program or synchronous program that you're going to be using for your live course or your live session or whatnot. Even something simple as, do they have Microsoft Office? I mean, if you're going to require them to use PowerPoint or Excel or something like that in this course, 10 years ago, we could pretty much rely on, everybody's going to have Microsoft Office. But in this day and age, that's not necessarily a given. I mean, the university is very nice in that it does give a license out to all the students and all the employees here. But, say I'm a freshman, I'm coming in, my parents are paying for college, or I'm paying for college for the first time. It's expensive. I have an option of buying Microsoft Office for $200 or $300 or whatever that is, or I can sign up for a Google account and use Google Docs in their spreadsheet and their presentation software for free, and it does pretty much anything and everything that Microsoft Office does. Why should I spend that extra money for Office when I have a perfectly good solution from Google or from Apple, using their web-based programs as well. So if you are going to require them to use some sort of, an Office program, let them know that uphand so that they can go through and they can find out from IT, okay, here's what I need to do to download that and install that and whatnot. Hello, everyone. So in what can only be classified as the ultimate in irony, something went wrong during my presentation about things that can possibly go wrong. What looks like happened was the Adobe Connect server had some sort of an issue where it just dropped the sound for everyone. It doesn't look like it was any problem with our equipment or anything like that. It's just all of a sudden people weren't able to hear what I was saying. And let's use this as a learning example. Like I said at the beginning, things go wrong. Sometimes they're our fault and sometimes they're not. And in this case, this one wasn't our fault. So the good news is that I was recording the session and was able to get the recording with everything up until the part we had the problem. And so what I'll do now is just record the last little bit that's going to go on the end here. I was almost done with the presentation anyways, and put them both together and we'll have a complete presentation. Let's kind of use this as a teachable moment. When I meet with faculty a lot for the first time, a lot of them will say to me, I'm very nervous about teaching online for the first time, and I really want to make sure this goes perfectly. And the thing that I say to them almost immediately after that is, okay, you need to put that thought out of your mind right away because it's not going to go perfectly. This format has issues just like face-to-face courses do. I mean, you can't tell me that all of your face-to-face courses go perfectly as well. So it's unfair to, put that sort of expectation on an online course when you wouldn't put it on a face-to-face course. So that's my kind of 2 bits on it. But at any rate, we're able to get this fixed up and get the information out to you. And also something just kind of to keep in mind that, if you do have a problem like this with your course, maybe it's a good idea to just kind of have a warning or kind of a fallback situation with your students where you say, okay, listen, if we're in the middle of a synchronous session and something happens and where my feed cuts out or you can't hear me or something goes wrong, sit tight, just wait for a few minutes, let me log off, log back on, reconnect, see if everything's going all right. If it is, we'll just move on from there. If not, I'll send out some sort of a notification. Either I'll email everybody and say I'm having technical difficulties, let's reschedule this, or we'll figure out some sort of solution to it. Or maybe I'll post it on the homepage in my course, something like, just some sort of fallback situation so that if something happens in your synchronous session, you can do something about it. But anyways, I was wrapping up my last section about tips that other faculty who have taught online had given me in the past. And one of them was a little controversial, and it has to do with extra credit. And I know there are some faculty who have some very strong feelings about it. Some are just adamantly against it and think it goes against assessing a student. Other faculty are open to it or use it regularly in their courses. And then there are varying opinions anywhere and everywhere in between. If you do not believe in extra credit, then this tip isn't for you. If you do, then you may want to think about providing some sort of extra credit for students who point out problems in your course. And these can be, serious problems like a broken link or, being locked out of a particular piece of content when they know that they should be able to access it, or something just as simple as a word being misspelled. And the reason behind this is that yes, you're going to develop this course and it's going to be delivered during a particular semester. And however many students are in the course that semester are going to see it, maybe 30 or 40 or 100 or whatever that number is. But typically what happens when the course gets taught online again is that you copy that course and then you go in and make tweaks and change things around and add new and updated information and whatever it is you do to make adjustments to a course. But essentially the core of it gets copied and continues to get copied over and over for a certain period of time. So, that mistake, while initially will affect the students who are in the course for the first time, it will continue to pop up as time goes on until it gets addressed. So, break that cycle, break that chain early on, and get those problems fixed. The last piece of advice that I have to give has to do with setting deadlines. So before I get into that, let me just kind of go through, there are a lot of people here at Westchester who are able to help students, help faculty, whatever the situation may be when a problem arises. So there's, of course, the people from our office. There is the IT help desk. There is IT D2L services. There is IT media services if you're having a problem with videos that were recorded in media site. There is the library staff if you or your students are having trouble accessing resources from the library. There are a lot of people who are here who are able to help out. But faculty, especially in online courses, they for some reason like to set deadlines that are either late at night or on the weekend. And, let's face it, human nature, students in particular, we're procrastinators, right? We like to wait till the end. We're probably going to be finishing it up that day or the day before or whatever it is. And if they run into a problem, at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night when the deadline is 11:59 p.m. That Sunday night, there really isn't anybody available to help them, including you as faculty. Whereas, say, if you set the deadline at 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, all of those people who I just mentioned are going to be on campus or in their offices or available to help out whatever the situation may be. So it's something you may want to consider when you're setting your deadlines. Is your deadline around a time where if students run into a problem, are there people available that they can reach out to for help? So just something to kind of keep in mind. At this point, I would have asked for questions, or if anybody wanted to relate their own story, they're more than welcome to, but obviously at this point we can't do that. Our office is located on the 3rd floor of Wayne Hall. There's our contact information, also our Twitter feed. Please check that out. We like to tweet out little bits of information and news about technology and other things related to distance education. There's D2L Services contact information if you're having any sort of learning management system issue here at Westchester. Please contact them. And finally, thank you very much for participating, whether it's from being part of the first part or watching this whole thing later on. I appreciate it. As I said before, my name is Marc Drumm. My contact information is right there, along with my Twitter feed. Please feel free to engage me on Twitter. I love it. I've been using it for years and use it all the time, and love getting in touch with people that way. Also, contact information for the other 2 instructional designers here in this office are listed there as well. Thank you very much for participating, and hopefully I will see you at another one of these sessions soon.